afternoon, and welcome back to Dementia Diaries, a caregiver's journey. I am joining you live again today on a Saturday. We had some technical difficulties on Thursday when we had the interview with Ketra Lewis. So I wanted to give her the opportunity to come back because her story is so important, and we want to make sure that everyone is able to understand and see her as she talks about the challenges and experiences she had as she cared for her mother, Anne. So everyone, let's welcome Ketra Lewis. Hi, Ketra.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm back.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming back. I really
Thank,
appreciate it.
thank you for having me back.
So I hate to do this all over again, repeating, what you talked about on Thursday, but at the same time, I think your story is so important to be shared for others to hear it. So, again, like I said, thank you for joining us again. So, let's just get straight into it. So, we're going to be talking about your mother, Anne. So, tell
Mhm.
me, what type of dementia did your mom have?
She had vascular dementia, which was caused by many strokes. She suffered from diabetes, high blood pressure, she had congestive heart failure, and she was had kidney disease and ended up on dialysis. So all of those things impacted her and sort of caused those mini strokes. And I didn't know that till after, she was diagnosed and they did x-rays and things and they started to say, because there's different types of dementia.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, so tell me, when you heard the diagnosis, or were you there with her? Um, what went through your mind? What did you think?
I wasn't there with her initially. She had did something that was peculiar to me. So one day I was over her house helping her with her bills, and she said she had canceled her insurance policies, like her life insurance, her auto, her home, and said, "No, this is not like her. This behavior." And I started to see some things, like she was repeating herself a lot, a little agitated for no reason, just some personality things. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to your MD with you to see what's going on. So I said, when's your next appointment? She told me. I took her, and they had said that they had been watching this for a while. And I said, well, wow, I didn't know, with HIPAA, you can't really tell anybody anything. And she wasn't really telling me because my mother was very private sometime. With all the things she had going on, she was keeping secrets.
Mm-hmm.
So when he told me, I didn't really understand it. He just said she's got early stages of dementia and it can progress. And then, they start to be debilitating, and and it's different for different people. But the doctor didn't, to me, give me a lot of information.
Okay. And
Yeah.
she had the other diseases
Yeah.
before she was
Yes.
diagnosed. Okay.
That was the last thing that she was actually diagnosed with was.
Did you kind of feel that she already had these diseases here, and this is just another one coming on? Did you? I know you said you really didn't understand, but did you? How long did it take for you to understand the severity and the impact of dementia to her?
Honestly, and as it progressed, and then I started to do my own research, I did it's ordered some books and read up on it. It was a little frightening because there's stages of dementia from stages. I forget how many stages, but I know you start, early dementia onset, and then goes to moderate, like in the middle, and then
Mm-hmm.
at the end. So the book said what would happen. They start to lose memory, forget things, cognitive skills, how to eat. But it never really, you know, I didn't know anyone that had it. Like, well, when you think about it now, a lot of people probably had it and didn't know. A lot of my family members that were older, but
Yes.
this seemed quite different though.
Okay.
Yeah, this seemed more debilitating, and like when you get to a certain stage, it just the health starts to decline, the cognitive skills and things.
So if you remember, so let's look at the time that you heard that she was diagnosed, right?
Hmm.
To the time of her passing, how much time was that?
Um, So it was 2009, I want to say, and she passed like 2018.
Okay. So about
Um,
9 years.
about 9 years. Um, well, the onset of it. So no, let me go back. Sorry, 2009 when she had her went on dialysis.
Okay.
It was about 2010, 2011 is when she had the early onset of it. When
You're
they
that.
diagnosed her and they gave her a test. I was there with her and they asked her and simple questions: what
Mm-hmm.
year is it? Who is the president? She thought it was 1988.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 2012. I mean,
Right.
so yeah, so that was frightening. And they had her do like remember objects and then try to put them back, the
Yes.
cognitive tests.
Mm-hmm.
And so um that was, yeah, that was scary because when she didn't know the year, and then I'm like, this is not gonna be well, right?
Right.
You know, yeah.
So
So
she probably had it much longer than, because they always have it before you're diagnosed.
yes,
Probably had it
yeah,
much longer and you just didn't know or overlooked. Because what
yeah,
I found from a lot of people that I've been talking with is that they think it's old age. Which when you do get older, you do tend to forget things and so
yeah,
forth. They
yep,
just look at it like that versus thinking that it's something more. So it's very important for these wellness checks and so forth, that we all go to the doctor as we should to make sure that everything is going well. So
yeah.
now, how did you handle the stress just from knowing that she had dementia?
Um, my mother had been sick since I was a little girl. I know she had a diabetic coma when I was 10, I think 10, and they had to rush her to the hospital. But even before then, she had issues with her back. So she always was kind of a sickly person, always had things, but never complained about it, always made the best of it, and didn't never let me use that as an excuse for me not to do something. Like if I said, Mom, I know you're not feeling well, I know you don't want to take me to school or whatever. She like, no, I'm gonna take you to school, I'm fine. So she was a trooper. She was a very strong woman. I think a lot of the diseases like came from she was 5'3", but she always weighed like 180.
Okay.
And most of the women in our family all were short but bigger women and carried a lot of weight. And then there was some inherited things, on her father's side. They had a history of kidney disease and blindness and things like that. So her siblings, they had a lot of health issues too. But I think as I get older and understand more about disease and things, how things eating, your lifestyle and stress. But for me, it always had a little bit of stress
Mm-hmm.
because she was always sick and always worried about her. So when she got dementia, I was like, oh, we could get through this too, right? It's nothing different than any other thing. We've gotten through a lot. My mother had a major heart attack the year I got married, so I didn't know she was gonna make it to my wedding. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like I said, she's had a history of things, and I was like, I'm here to be her caretaker. And but yeah, and it's
Now,
almost like
did she allow you to be her caretaker, or was she combative at all?
um she was married, and her and my father got divorced. And then in my 20s, she was a strong will. I can do everything. I don't need. But as she got older, and then some things, she needed help with, she let me to an extent, but I always gave her respect. Like, Mom, what do you want to do? This is your life. How you want to do things, how you want to handle things. I wasn't more, I think at the end, because you reverse roles, because mentally they're just not able to cognitively understand anything. So, at the end, she would say, here comes the boss, because I did have to be more, you got to take your medicine, you have to eat, you have to do this, it's always, you have to. But before the dementia, she was pretty independent. She was driving. She had a little job. She took care of other people who had dementia before she had dementia. She
Mhm.
loved kids. She was like a nurse aide at the church. She's on the prayer committee. She kept really acting really busy. She traveled. Um, and so I let her have that, as long as she could. But when it got to the end, when she started sort of declining, I had to step in and do what's best for her. And I know that's hard for some people. I've had conversations with a friend of my church. Her mother is in her 90s, 90s, I think 93, but she has a few health issues, but she refused to leave her house. She
Okay.
refused to live with anyone else.
Mhm.
And my friend is the only child too. Her father had passed, so she doesn't have a lot of support, but she's works a full-time job and she's really active in the community, and I just pressed to her. Actually, I talked to her early in the week. You need to take some time for yourself. Well, I don't have time. Okay, well, on your lunch hour, you need to go for a walk. You
Mhm.
know, some things that I didn't do when I was in that. And I'm telling her from experience because later it's gonna catch up with you if you don't put yourself first as a caregiver.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
as I look at Facebook and other people that I talk to that where their loved ones have dementia, they get to a point where they say, "I can't do this anymore. This is too hard. What am I going to do?" It's almost like they're crying out. They're crying out for help, and when they're the only person, sometimes it seems like it just goes on deaf ears. So, what would you say to them? Because I think one thing you said there is very important. If that person is working and
Hmm.
on their lunch break, it's good to get up, go walking, go do something for yourself
Yeah.
to kind of ease that stressor there. What else would you recommend?
I think, and I think I said before, putting yourself first, asking for help. I didn't do a lot of that in the beginning, but I think at the end I started to get wore down, and I did reach out to some of my family and friends to kind of say, "Can you cover my mom? I got to take a trip. Can you go give her, pick up her favorite food, or go by there and check on her?" And in some instances, they get when they go check on her, she talks them to doing things that I would not do. Like, so when I get back, I'm like, "What is this?" "Oh, well, you're not supposed to have that, right?" So, it was fine. But yeah, I would say ask for help and then find the time. If it's on a Saturday that you're not going to go over there, you're just going to call and check in, and you're going to let yourself distress, let yourself think about something else, maybe do something fun. One thing I did get active back in my sorority, and I wasn't active like I could go to everything, but I needed something else, just something else to do to keep my mind off of what was going on with her. And when I got activated, I told him, I said, "I have limited time." I said, "I can come when I can come."
Mhm.
At church, I had some commitments there. I told them, "I can come when I can come. When you see me, that's the Sunday I can serve. I
Right.
cannot commit to a schedule right now
Mhm.
because right now my mom's health is really touchy, with the dialysis and the dementia and just all the things that go with taking care of her. Um, I just didn't I needed flexibility with my job, with my family, with my friends, and then I had some people who would call me on the way to work just to pray with me and
Mhm.
let and then help me get through the day, let me cry or whatever I needed to do.
Mhm.
And so that really helped me get through it. Your friends and your family, but you have to let them know how you feel.
Yeah, you can't hold it in.
Can't hold it in. You can't be strong. This
Yeah.
thing about Black women being strong is a myth. I mean, we are to an extent, but at the risk,
Of
someone,
harming yourself. Mhm.
yes, we strong at the risk of our health. That's not strong. That's insane.
That's a good way of putting it because
Yeah.
that's what we do. We take on so much. You take on so much from everyone else.
Yep.
and you don't really get that opportunity to take care of you. And then if you pile up the fact that you have to be a caregiver,
Yeah.
even when so I was blessed that there were seven of us, seven siblings. Well, they're including me. So there was kind of like a rotation. But for those that only like you only have that. It's only you.
Yeah.
You really have to find ways to just breathe. You
Breathe.
know, yeah, just
Yes.
breathe because it gets very overwhelming, especially when you have a lot of other things to do as well. So, and then I
Yeah.
think your mom had someone that stayed with her,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So, and you got to have someone that you trust. So,
Yeah.
tell us about that.
So she had a companion that stayed with her actually right before she went on dialysis. I didn't know she didn't want to live by herself.
Hmm.
She was afraid. I think that probably was the early signs of it. She wasn't fearful of being by herself. She always taunted about, I live on my own. I do, I can do what I want to do and think her independence. So a friend of the family, friend of hers, stayed with her and um, kind of helped went with her to her dialysis appointments, all her um, you know, treatments, anything you had to do, grocery shopping. And I guess, think about a person who's diabetic, high blood pressure, cholesterol, they don't feel well a lot. But
Hmm.
my mom, she always seemed like she was okay,
Hmm.
she get her rest, she ate her diabetic diet, baked chicken, and she stayed away from sugar, I think, because she always, "Oh, you can't have sugar." Um, and so she was very compliant with her doctors, um, to a fault, so she wanted to live and she wanted to have a quality of life, but the companion, they helped her with a lot of things, but there was just some things that I still had to do. They
Right.
lived with her, but I still had to pay her bills. I still had to do some of the heavy grocery shopping. I had to make sure her medication was right, set up her medication for the week, call her doctors if she had any reactions. I'm the person they call for any decisions on her health or anything. So I was like, I think I ran that household, because and then I don't know what was going on at my home. My
Mhm.
husband was keeping it together, but it's almost having two households, and I was always
Right.
at that household. And my husband was very supportive, and was very, but sometimes he'd say, "You doing too much. You need to slow down and get rest." But yeah, that person helped. But I still had a lot of heavy lifting and the mental part of it, and working and having my own family was still a lot. But I had that was it was such a godsend
Mhm.
because I don't know how I would have done it without that person. Yeah.
So, so knowing that she had all of these diseases, and then she got dementia. Um, did you start putting things in order for her passing, or what was your thought around that?
I didn't. It's weird. I did not. I don't even know if I had time to think about her passing. Every day was just surviving and doing, and the next day just doing the routine, and just being flexible. But that was funny you said that because maybe 6 months before she passed, she started to decline a lot. And one of the nurses came to me because my mother, her diagnosis was complicated with being on dialysis.
Hmm.
So the dialysis, she was starting to get sick every time she got treatments,
Okay.
and she sometimes had to be hospitalized. So the thought was her her health is not getting better, it's not, you should take her off dialysis. Take her off dialysis, it's almost like she'll pass away within a couple weeks. I was not having that conversation, I'm like, no, she seems to be okay. She's fine. But then start to lose the weight, stop eating, stop communicating, stop recognizing people. She knew me for some reason. She knew me to the end. I don't know if she knew my voice or the feeling. They have their other senses come and play, but she knew me, but she didn't know her mother. Her mother outlived her. Her mother lived to 96. She didn't recognize some family members, and some people in my family were offended. And one thing, you cannot be offended by anybody with dementia because they don't have control of what they remember, what they don't.
Exactly.
So I had to learn that and not take it personal. But I did not. And the day she passed away, my cousin called me, who's a funeral director down in Little Rock. She actually had my mother sent there and buried with next to her other two sisters and where my grandmother is. It's a
Okay.
family plot. But she called me and she like, I'm taking care of everything.
Okay.
And I'm like, she made the arrangements. She called and had, I mean, I didn't do anything. And then someone called me from church, was like, we can do your obituary. Just give us the pictures and what you
Mhm.
want to say. So I'm crying because
All right. Yeah.
I
So,
didn't have, I didn't think of the end.
mhm. But it's a blessing that you had the funeral home director who's a relative that
Yeah,
was able to just jump in and do that. You
yeah,
know, in the church, it's always good to have a
yeah.
group of people that's out there for you and looking to help you and support you in as many ways as you can.
Then someone, yeah,
Oh,
I mean, it was someone paid for our flights
oh wow.
because flights at the last minute are like ridiculous. So one of my mom's friends said, I can't go, but I'm gonna pay for your flights $1,400. I mean, with the outpour, and then the last thing, well, it was a lot of things, but my bishop here, Bishop Ellis, he had a minister come to the service. So as soon as came in the room, he said, and he was a pastor, bishop down there in Little Rock. He said, "Your pastor sent me here to meet you and to sit with you and your family."
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
I just fell out. I was like, I can't.
Hmm.
It was just
That's awesome.
the
Mhm.
yeah,
That is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. But the funny story about that is my mom never wanted to go back down south, so she probably would have a fit if she found out. But
Oh my gosh.
I didn't want her mother to have to travel here and her brother because they were up in age and had some health issues. So I
Right.
took her there. It was easier for me to go there and meet with the family. So yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you for having let me get myself together. You just
Yeah,
never know when tears are gonna come.
that's exactly. And it's like some people think about the grief part of losing an individual, and sometimes people think grief just comes at the end, you know,
Mm,
after they're gone. But I think you're kind of grieving throughout the whole process, especially when you find out that the person has it. Right?
yeah,
You gotta get a grip, a grasp around what it is, what's going to happen, and kind of get yourself out of the way, because at
yeah,
this point it's not about you. So when they're repeating themselves over and over and over, which can be very frustrating and annoying, you just got to remember, okay, this is not
yeah.
about me. She's not doing it
Nope.
on purpose, or he's not doing it on purpose. So you just got to go with it. You know, don't be combative. Don't say, what are you
Yeah,
talking about? We
yeah,
didn't do this. You already did this. So whatever it is, you just got to go along with the flow. So and that was something I had to do. Um, get my mind, and I believe some of my siblings had to do that as well, because before we found out that she had dementia, um, she was repeating herself, and you know we weren't aware that she had dementia. And we were saying, "Why are you sitting there saying the same thing all over again? I
I
just
know, right?
this, what is
And
going
they
on with
get combative. They get mad. You're like, Mom, I think we talked about this yesterday.
you?" No, we didn't.
And then she'd be like, yeah. And then you get kind of scolded for correction. Like, I
Hmm.
don't know who you think you're talking to, but it's like,
Hmm.
I swore. But I did take some classes on, I went to a support group and they said, why are you, they're being unreasonable. Why are you arguing with someone that's not reasonable? And you hate to say that, but about your mother, but I got to a point where she could talk and I say, "Oh, okay, yeah." I act like it was new information. It didn't cost me anything.
No.
to do that, and it made her feel like because she still wanted to maintain control of her life. I
Mhm.
think she knew.
Mhm.
I think I said last time she wrote a little note. My
Yeah.
mother wasn't a very at the end, she was very lovey, kiss, come give me a kiss, but growing up, my mom was just, she wasn't, that person, very sensitive, she was sort of strict and had rules and, you know,
Yeah.
so she had wrote me a little note and she gave it to me and it had, I love you. Remember, I love you always. And she had never done that on her. So I was like, now this is different. Like,
Mhm.
but I think she knew that things were changing for her. I would think I don't know if but I do think something's different,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know. And as she started to transition, I could see she was getting tired of living a little, because she had just more than dementia. There's some people who have dementia and they're healthy,
Right.
just mentally. And those are the ones that they don't sit down, they have to be locked in, they may, my mom pretty much had other issues, so she wasn't as healthy.
Mhm.
Also was wearing on her, and the dialysis, I think, was one of the things,
Yeah.
was wearing her down. And I
Mhm.
think, like her last week, I asked her, I think the day or two before I think she went in hospice, because she went to the hospital. Um, she's on her way to her treatment and they called me like we're not taking her, her vitals are very low. So I get to the hospital, not HR, the emergency
Mhm.
doctor comes out and he compelled, he says, can I talk to you, in the office? So I said, yeah. He's like, your mother's quality of life is declined and you don't want her to suffer anymore. And if she can't go to dialysis anymore. You have to make some decisions because she could have a heart attack because I guess how her vitals were so low or whatever what vitals are.
Mhm.
And so then I said, he shared with me a personal story about, I think his father was on dialysis and sort of same process. And he said, I know it's hard, but you want to do what's best for her, and you don't want her to have to suffer more than she's suffering now. And she had other issues when she was admitted that the nursing home had some negligence too with her care. And so all that had came to a halt. And that week she was just tired. And I go in there, I'm like, Mom, are you ready? And she just flashed her eyes. It wasn't like sadness. It was more like relief. Like I'm ready and I'm tired. And so I agreed to put her on in hospice, which means they stop any palliative care, any procedures, anything, which would means they had to stop the dialysis. So they said, roughly a couple of weeks. Well, Wednesday she went to hospice, Friday night she passed.
Mhm.
And she was tired, you
Mhm.
know. I got that call Friday to rush back up there to the nursing home where she was, and she was breathing, labored, but it was peaceful. I mean, I think I shared that. It was different. I knew I was ready. I wasn't ready, but I was. I didn't want her to suffer anymore. I knew my mom had been sick a long time. And this is not everybody's story, but you know, it was a long time. And I think I shared that I had all my family in there, and then family. I think they forget I'm. So I kind of threw them out the room,
Mhm.
and then said I knew she wouldn't pass while I was there. So I left, and then kind of when I got back home, I get the call. She had taken her last breath, so I headed back up there. But um, I was saying, yeah, it was peaceful. I put Christian music on. And she liked gospel music. I think you shared that too, with your mother, and that to me, she just went home and
Mhm.
she didn't suffer. It was like falling asleep. They put you on the not Motrin, the morphine,
Mhm.
and yeah. So that was tough. I think I was a little bit in denial, a little bit, because until you see them the last time at the funeral,
Mhm.
and then yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I was saying when I was talking to you the other day. My mom, she passed at my brother's house, and it was myself and three of my siblings, and my sister-in-law was there when she passed, and it was very peaceful. And of course, that they're going to leave. You know,
Mhm.
your heart is like, oh my God, okay, she's leaving, she's leaving, she's leaving, but yet your spirit is like,
She's in a better place.
she's in a
Yeah.
better place. Yeah,
Right.
so she don't have to worry about any more pain, any more suffering. She has lived a long life. My mom was 86, almost going
Yeah.
on 7. She had lived a long life. She had some bad times, she had some good times, but
Yeah.
overall, she cared for her children, all 7 of us.
I
Um,
know. I
yeah, and she was she kept the family together. As siblings, we disagree with each other and fight,
That's not allowed. Yeah.
but 2 weeks later, it always comes back.
Yeah.
That's your family. It doesn't matter. Nothing's going to break that bond. And she made sure,
Nothing. Yeah.
yeah, and she made sure that our bond was tight, and we were really tight with her. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's it's painful, but it's a joy. I'm going to say it's a joy at the same time because she was a Christian and she believed in the Lord, and she knew when she passed she was going to heaven, and I knew that.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's made a huge difference for me.
And we know we're gonna see him again, right? In the new
Exactly,
glorified bodies.
exactly.
Yes.
Just,
Yes.
it's just it gave me a different perspective.
Yeah.
You know,
It did.
really understanding that this is not our home. This earth is not our home.
Yeah.
My goal is to go where she's going. So
Exactly.
where she is. So that's the whole goal of life here is to make it
And
to heaven. Hmm.
your mom, 86, mom, you said she was 86, right?
Hmm.
And my
Yes.
mom would have been 76 that May of 2018. But our parent, I don't know, my mother's from the South, Mississippi. And then she grew up in Little Rock. And she had been through a lot, like, humble
Hmm.
beginnings. And then she moved here in the 60s with my father. And, education was important to her. Taking care of your property, taking care of the things you have. She was a very strong woman, and she wasn't able to go get an education.
Right.
They had to drop out of school to work,
Hmm.
and it was 5 of them, but you know, their father was, had a lot of kids, so I think it ended up being quite a few, but a lot of them had health issues too. Um, I contribute a lot of it to lifestyle, how we ate and things we do. And I think, I was, I'm a pescatarian. I don't eat chicken or things like that, or pork or beef. I'm trying to give up seafood, really trying to be a full-fledged vegetarian. But I was listening to someone, and they're saying that we inherited the lifestyle, and that's why a lot of us have these diseases, because we kind of eat, and we didn't start off that way.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of it's stress and just things that we have to deal with as African Americans, how
Hmm.
we use food and drinks and things to suffice those things that we're feeling, because there's some inadequacy, some you gotta, right,
Hmm.
right. So my mom, she was strong, but she didn't like the South. She
Hmm.
had a lot of issues, growing up, and they were very poor. And
Hmm.
also, I think when they got to a point where they could afford things, it's like, I'm gonna eat and do what I want to do.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's something that we need to deal with in our community. The health, you
Hmm.
know, and demanding health, but also looking at alternatives to medicine. Medicine just treats, everything. If I go back, my mom had a lot of medication. Every time she was sick, they just give her medication instead of saying what they never. got to the root cause. And what I know now, and it was risky for me to ask her to change that point
Mhm.
of view because I didn't know for sure. Like if she went vegetarian or something, or changed that, she would miraculously not have issues. You have to be careful with that because I'm not a doctor, but I do think there's something to plant-based working out, managing your stress, getting rest can help a multitude of people if we just look at because what we're doing is not working. um, and so, and my mom questioned a lot of how she on dialysis,
Mhm.
she thought her insulin was under control. She's on this high blood pressure medicine. So obviously it wasn't working because she had many strokes.
Mhm.
She questioned a lot she was very compliant to what the medical community was saying. And she ended up, the way she did. So
Right. And you got to
yeah,
ask questions. I mean,
you
you
got to
have
ask
to ask
questions.
questions.
And
And
that's the key. Yeah.
I know I have a sister who's an LPN, and I have a sister who's a CNA. He's been a CNA for years, and they both have cared for people in hospice, people with dementia, etc. And that helped some because they knew what to expect, what not to
Hmm.
expect. You know, each of us had our own opinion
Yeah.
about what
The
was
care.
good,
Yeah. Hmm.
what was not good, but ultimately we all wanted the best and was trying to do the best thing. So, but their knowledge did play a huge part for me
Yeah.
in the care. So, but yeah, you just got to ask questions
Gotta
and
ask questions. Yeah.
listen carefully. You have to go to the doc. Listen to what they're actually saying, and make sure that you understand what it is that they're saying too. So,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
you did, read. You got to read up on it.
Gotta read up on it. Yeah.
Every stage, symptom, or whatever, you may not have all of the symptoms, but you're going to have some of them, so you can recognize,
Yeah.
what stage it's in. Because for me, with my mom, I know they kept telling us that, be like you look like she has bruising or something in the skin, and I
Hmm.
didn't, and I never could see that. I never could see that.
And that's part of it. Was that part of one of those side effects? The
No, not
bruising?
a side effect. It's
Oh,
part of a symptom.
a symptom.
Of,
Sorry. I mean,
yeah,
okay.
and we got this book. I think my sister, it's hard to read, hard to see. Yeah, gone from my sight. I think my,
Gone from myself.
hmm I think one of my sisters got this book for all of us, and we were reading it to see, what to expect. When she stopped eating, holding food in the side of her mouth, holding
Right. You
medicine
talked
in
about.
the side of her mouth,
Yes.
and making sure that she doesn't aspirate or get pneumonia because it'll go in your lungs and so
Yeah.
forth.
We talked a lot about that the
Mhm,
aspiration part. Yeah.
mhm. And
At the
then
end. Yeah.
yeah, and then I remember like she was fine, and then one day she just stopped eating,
Yeah.
and it didn't matter. She'd take a spoon, and then she just would stop. Now, one thing she did that this woman loves sweets,
Yeah.
and it was so we were talking about this. I don't know what it is about sweets, but I remember we gave her a lollipop. She had this lollipop, one of those the lollipops with the gum in it.
Oh, what they call bomb? Wait, what they call it?
I,
Lollipop, right?
yeah,
I forgot. It's been so
yeah,
long.
but I mean, she would not let that thing go. I just remember seeing her do that, but she loved the sweets.
Yeah, that's one thing my mom would eat at the end. She wouldn't eat food. She'd do the applesauce, maybe something sweet,
Sweet. Hmm.
but she couldn't. So that's definitely one of the things that happen as they transition. I think too, if someone I know, I hate it is sort of unfortunately, I learned the hard way. It is debilitating and it is going to come to an end.
Hmm.
But in those moments,
Hmm.
enjoy those times.
Yes.
Um, you know, um, the story I shared with my mom, one of the funniest stories. So she's in the nursing home in a wheelchair. She really can get moving in this chair. So she's tried to escape. She couldn't get far. She'd get out the door. But she was like one day I came, she was laser focused on this door. She was watching it, timing it. I said, okay, she gonna try to escape. I know my mother. She did. They called me. Your mom tried to escape the nursing home, like in the wheelchair. I don't think she was gonna get
It's
far.
like,
But
where
she
are
was lazy.
you going? It was like, where are you going?
Then she got into a little bit of a scuff with a little fight with. So I get a call. Your mom got into a fight. I said, what happened? Well, I guess she hit this lady, because the lady hit her. But my mom had an attitude with this lady for no apparent reason. She didn't even know the lady. I would come, she'd stare the lady down. I don't like her. I was like, you don't even know her. You have to get along with people. It's like talking to kids going to school.
Yeah.
Can't be fighting. And then so the lady walks by. This was the most funny thing. And she's like, I don't know why she's fighting me. She can't even walk. It was true. It took everything for me not to laugh. My mom was looking on me like, and I'm like, so I'm talking to her, I had to
Mhm.
get myself together. Mom, you cannot be up here fighting people, right? This is where I don't live here. This is your home. No, I don't live. Okay, this is your apartment, but this is where you're living right now. So it was a lot of it of,
Mhm.
I won't say trickeries, but a little bit of manipulation sometimes
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
to get them to act right. And so, yeah, I have some good stories. My mom, I thought, I said, I can't get these calls at work. I am sure up here acting up.
I mean, it is so funny the things that they did.
Yeah.
It was just hilarious. You just wouldn't believe. Like I told everybody, no one could tell me that my mom used profanity. Okay,
Oh,
'cause I'm the youngest of seven now. I had never heard my mother use profanity, but she cussed me out real good, and I was like, I was sitting there sounding like, okay, I didn't know what to do with it, but
that was the old person.
oh yes, yes, definitely the old person because I'm saying, okay, so this is what we're doing now, right? And she
Yeah,
had
she got too honest. Yeah.
and she had
The,
a right hook. I would always tell because we would have caregivers
mhm.
come in during the day
Oh,
and the evening, and always tell them you got to watch out for that right arm because
oh
that
yeah,
right arm she had a good hook
they'll get
and,
you.
and it would connect
Yeah.
and it'd be so funny.
But they thought my mom, she cussed. Yeah, she cussed. So I wouldn't be surprised if she cussed, but she's very direct. But all of the people were, oh, your mom is so sweet. We love her. All of the caregivers, they loved her shift. They always called me and gave extra attention. It's like, and I'm like, who are they talk? So she was like the opposite,
Mhm, mhm.
because my mom was a riot, right? She spoke her mind, when challenged. She wouldn't go around just.
Yeah,
But if you made her mad, you see that side. So I've heard her cuss, but in the nursing home, she didn't cuss anybody else. So,
but I
but she
tell
did get
you,
into a little tiff.
she would love when the nurses come in. She'd be so nice,
Right. As soon
and
as they leave.
the nurses and my brothers. Oh my god, and my husband and my
Oh
brother.
yeah.
I mean, they were the cream of the crop. You
I
know,
got the crappy side most of the
yeah.
time.
The girls got the yeah,
I
yeah.
got the why I have to do this. And one time I picked her up. It must have been the last time I picked her up, take her to my house. Um, try to get out the car. She right hooked me almost. I'm like, what is going? I'm not going. So I call like the guy to come get her. Oh, he come. Hey, honey, how you doing? I'm so glad to be back. I cried like that day because I was like, oh my God, I can't believe she treated me so bad. And then he comes and he's like the best friend ever. So I called my husband, he's like, your mom has dementia. Why are you crying about it? I'm like, oh, okay,
Stuff
right.
together.
Right.
She doesn't mean it, but I tell you, with the expressions on their face
Yeah.
and the way they're saying what they're saying, it's like, oh, she
They
means
mean she
she.
mean it. And I'm not. I like left her. I say, okay, Molly. I kissed her. I pulled off. I was so upset that day. I was like, I didn't even go back the next day. I said I have to take a break, mental break. 'Cause
Goodness.
she had hurt my feelings. But
Oh
before
my
we leave, I know we're almost at time. I wanted to
goodness. Oh
share her
yes.
picture.
Yes, yes, yes. That's a good picture. Good.
Yes, of her, before.
She has that look
Um,
on her face as well, like, okay,
yeah.
mess with
She's
me.
on her way to church
Okay. Okay.
somewhere with her coat, with the hat and the coat. And I probably took the picture because she called me over. When she knew she was looking good. Can you come over and take a picture? I mean, I live like 20 minutes away or something, right? So, right, I'll come over. It's nothing's unreasonable for your mother.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think I know for me, as we close, she was my mother. She brought me into this world. She took care of me when I was sick. She fed me when I was hungry. She clothed me. She gave
Yeah,
me baths. She did all the things that I needed to have done. So when it was her time, it was no problem for me at all. It was
yeah,
just immediate
yeah.
action.
Immediate action. Yes, yes.
Hmm.
Definitely. Mothers are solid. I mean, solid people.
Yes, yes, yes. So,
Yeah.
and they are truly missed.
Yes, they are.
You know what? They gave us the tools that we need so that we can get through the things that we go through on a daily basis and what we have to look forward to the future. So, but I want to thank you again for coming back on and retelling your story so we can get a clear um, view of you and
Yeah.
clearly understand what you were saying. So I really do appreciate you, and I thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, and thank you again for the opportunity to reschedule. I wanted to make sure it was clear and people heard it. And I definitely want to help someone, with my mom's life, and continue to share, our stories so that we can help those that are coming along the way. Because it's not easy, but you get through it
Yeah.
with God. And,
Yes.
and so thank you again.
Thank you. So if anyone is interested in being a guest on this podcast, you can reach me at Dementia Diaries podcast at gmail.com. That's Dementia Diaries podcast at gmail.com. And thank you so much for joining me this evening. And hopefully I'll see you again in another 2 weeks. Take care.